Today, we're going to imagine a world where technology no longer exists. Picture this: overnight, a disaster sends us back to the Stone Age. How would our daily lives change? Would we be able to survive? In order to test this, we'll be in good company. Well, in Gustave's company. You'll see how what seems harmless at first can actually pose real dangers to your health. So Gustave, how do you feel about a trip to the great outdoors for a year? Peace, quiet, a 100% relaxing escape. What do you say? Perfect. Then we're sending you to a place with absolutely no technology. What do you think? Is Gustave about to turn into a hunter-gatherer? Will he manage to find food? In short, what happens when we no longer have tech to help us? Let's find out in 365 days without any technology. What's it like? Alright, my little Gustave, to start with, you're going to gather up all your tech devices right here. We are taking away everything from Gustave and not just the digital stuff. That means no vacuum, no fridge, no heating, no lights. And once that's done, we're dropping Gustave off in the wilderness. See, that wasn't so hard. Yes, Gustave, we're even taking your smartphone. Actually, this might be the perfect time to resell your electronics. Someone else could put these devices to good use, and you'd be doing the planet a favor as well. Because honestly, the environmental impact of all these devices is huge, even for something as small as a smartphone. It takes 586 pounds, that's about 266 kilograms of raw materials to make a brand new phone, including precious metals and raw earth elements. In other words, a whole lot of mining, which destroys ecosystems and in many countries is linked to human rights violations. And it also uses up 89,000 liters of water. That's enough drinking water for Gustave to last more than 100 years. And let's not forget, producing one phone releases 185 pounds, that's around 84 kilograms of CO2 into the atmosphere. And speaking of saving resources, check this out, Gustave. This is where you'll be staying for the next year. The perfect place to avoid all contact with technology. Alright, we'll check in on you later. Have fun, Gustave. Alright, we left Gustave alone for a week. Just enough time for him to get settled in. He had time to explore his cabin, find a water source, and check out the forest around him. Don't worry, we didn't throw him into the desert. He does need to survive a full year without technology. The right environment is key to survival, since it's what will keep him alive. Still complaining, huh? Well, welcome to life in the wild, my friend. If you want to survive and actually enjoy life out here, you gotta put in the work. Now it's time to learn how to do everything yourself and live by the rhythm of the seasons. No more microwave, no Wi-Fi, no fully stocked fridge, none of that. You know what? You should take a page from Mark Boyle's book. He's a 42-year-old Irishman who did exactly what you're doing. He spent an entire year in a cabin, no electricity, no running water. And he wrote all about it in his book called The Way Home: Tales from a Life Without Technology. Mark Boyle changed his lifestyle for ecological, cultural, and personal reasons. According to him, technology blurs our humanity. And in his book, he tackles something that's going to be very important for our friend Gustave, namely everything to do with food. Gustave can pick berries, mushrooms, and even flowers. Yes, flowers. Dandelions, roses, violets, they are all edible. Better read them book carefully, Gustave. It might save you from eating anything poisonous. But hey, it looks like you figured out how to get water from your well. Nice. And water is probably going to be the only thing you drink for quite a while. Say goodbye to coffee. This is the start of your year of caffeine detox. On the plus side, Gustave's gained something pretty great: waking up naturally and therefore having a more natural sleep cycle. With no alarm clock, he wakes up with the sun. He has higher quality sleep and he feels way more well-rested. Still, he's missing one key thing to be able to cook: fire. But with all the info I've given him, he should make it until our next check-in. It's already been a month since we left Gustave alone in his cabin. Just to clarify, it's summer for him now. Let's see how he's handling the heat. Well, he's still alive and he even managed to find some fishing gear. Fun fact, every year 2% of all fishing rods are lost at sea or in rivers, according to an Australian study. That's about 14 million hooks and enough fishing line to circle the earth 18 times. For Gustave, fishing is an excellent source of food. provided of course that there's enough fish left over to survive and reproduce. However, he's struggling with the heat. With no technology, there's no electric fan for him. The best solutions? Take a nap in the afternoon, make a hand fan, cool off in some water, or take cover under the shade of the forest trees. Forests are actually great at keeping temperatures down. The leafy canopy works like natural insulation. Forests can keep the temperature 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius cooler than in the open. Even in cities, trees help reduce the impact of heat waves. Hey, don't forget to stay well hydrated, Gustave. Physically, he's starting to change too, because without technology, there's no electric trimmer for his hair and beard. And without a washing machine, he has to clean his clothes by hand, which Gustave clearly hasn't done yet. But there are natural soaps. Some plants are rich in saponin, a foamy substance used for soap and detergent. You can use ivy or even wood ash to make homemade soap. Well, Gustave doesn't have the internet to do research, but he does have time. That's actually one big plus of this experiment. Gustave gets to manage his own schedule and has tons of free time. No more commuting, no more notifications, no endless distractions. Gustave feels calmer and more focused. No noise pollution, no ads, just nature. But he also realizes how addicted he is to social media. Even now, a month later, he feels like it's the biggest thing missing from his new outdoor life. Unconsciously, his brain keeps reaching for his non-existent smartphone, just out of habit. But anyway, time to reveal a big update. Gustave now has his own little farm. Wow! Previous residents of the cabin must have been farmers. Gustave found a supply of seeds to plant and a hen who lays an egg for him every day. It's better than nothing while he waits for his vegetables to grow. We've hit the halfway point, and it is now winter for Gustave. It's snowing, and the nights are long and dark. Time to take a peek inside his cabin. Looks like Gustave has finally started writing that book he's been talking about for years. He used to say he just didn't have the time. But now, with winter evenings feeling endless, he has nothing but time for contemplation and pencil scribbling. Without a smartphone, computer, or game console, he's had to find new ways to keep himself busy. He's gotten back into reading, working out, and picking up all kinds of new skills. For example, he's trying to weave baskets from willow and rushes, but not very successfully so far. He's also improved the cabin's insulation by stuffing cracks with moss, and he's learned to repair his tools himself. On the downside, he's getting smellier and smellier. Gustave uses fire to cook and stay warm, so he could also heat up some water and wash himself if he wanted. Oof, burning yourself out in the wild, definitely not ideal. Gustave, you'd better take care of that wound ASAP. You don't have a first aid kit out here, and if it gets infected, you could lose that thumb. And there's no ambulance to call. Here's a tip though, try rubbing garlic on it. In some cultures, crushed garlic is used on burns for its antiseptic or disinfectant qualities. No garlic in the garden, Gustave? You could also try lavender, St. John's wort, echinacea, or chamomile. Speaking of Gustave's garden, you're probably wondering what he's eating now that it's winter. Luckily, he planned ahead thanks to Mark Boyle's book and stored up food in advance. Potatoes and squash, for example, keep well for several months. And some things still grow in winter, like lettuce and cabbage. Surprisingly, Gustave isn't suffering from any major nutrient deficiencies. He's getting plant-based proteins and iron from things like legumes, vegetables, seeds, dried fruits, nuts, and of course, eggs from his chicken. Well, somehow a whole year has passed. Time really does fly by. So, assuming the harsh conditions would be too much for Gustave, where can we find his corpse? Doesn't look like it at first glance, but yeah, that's him. Honestly, I'm a little surprised he's doing so well. He's been living completely alone for a whole year. No tech means no phone calls, no video calls, no car to visit family and friends. And mentally, Gustave has changed as well. Social isolation can really mess with your head and increases the risk of anxiety and depression. Some studies even show it can lead to high blood pressure and a weaker immune system. Or, strangely enough, it can also improve your memory and increase gray matter in the brain. That said, reconnecting with others usually helps reverse the negative effects of isolation. So yeah, it makes sense that Gustave's personality has changed. And physically, he's changed too. Everything that machines used to do, he now does manually. Hauling water, chopping wood, harvesting food, so he's gotten pretty ripped. His body also just functions better and is overall healthier now because he's cut out a lot of junk he doesn't have access to anymore. especially things like processed additives, sugar, and salt. For a whole year, he's cooked everything himself from scratch. The natural sodium and sugars in his food were enough. The benefits? Better blood circulation, healthier organs, and more energy. Gustave eats way healthier now. Just look at all the stuff he's growing. Tomatoes, fresh herbs, eggplants, seasonal fruit. He even collects honey and makes candles out of beeswax. It's a great idea, but he doesn't really need to make candles anymore because the challenge is over. But anyway, the most important thing to remember is that Gustave survived. So if all the technology in the world disappeared tomorrow, we could survive, as long as we're in a resource-rich natural environment and we're not doing it alone. As for Mark Boyle, he's still living in his off-grid cabin in Ireland, totally tech-free. And he has zero interest in going back to his old life. His former habits now seem very unhealthy to him. But hey, no need to go to extremes, to reject everything, or fall into overconsumption. There are tons of ways to reduce your environmental impact and take back control of your life in our modern world. So, that's it folks. I hope that following Gustave's journey has shown you that there's no need to go full caveman mode to take better care of yourself or the planet. From my side, I'll let Gustave continue to enjoy his newfound love for nature. He'll come back to modern society eventually. What about you? If you had to pick one piece of tech to help you survive out in the wilderness, what would you choose?